Queer Up Health. Floridians file for emergency block on adult gender-affirming care ban. 4 Florida residents have filed a motion in federal court seeking an emergency injunction on provisions in SB 254 that have created, quote, arbitrary, harmful, and medically unjustified restrictions on medically necessary health care for transgender adults, end quote. Olivia Noel, Kai Pope, Lucien Hamel, and Rebecca Cruz Evia are facing dangerous disruptions in their ongoing medical care due to this Florida law. The motion for a preliminary injunction follows the filing of an amended complaint expanding the case, Doe versus Ladapo, to challenge the state law's new restrictions on medical care for transgender adults, and seeking class-wide relief for all transgender minors and adults who require medical care restricted by the law. The plaintiffs are represented by Southern Legal Counsel, GLBTQ Legal Advocates and Defenders, the National Center for Lesbian Rights, and the Human Rights Campaign. Their statement says, quote, SB 254's restrictions on well-established medical care cause profound harm, serve no legitimate purpose, and reflect gross legislative overreach. SB 254 takes away Floridians' abilities to make important decisions about their own lives and hands it over to the government instead. This should alarm us all, end quote. The federal district court already issued a preliminary injunction on June 6th, halting enforcement of the ban on health care for transgender minors and saying the ban is likely unconstitutional. However, that order is limited to just the plaintiffs. The new lawsuit looks to take the injunction statewide and let Florida parents access necessary medical care for their transgender children. Well, this is an example to me of chipping away at these horrible laws, you know, bit by bit, step by step. And so the more people can bring lawsuits against these truly unconstitutional laws, the SB 254, for example, the more we can chip away at it, the better. It's just how we have to go, I think, currently.
I call them the DeSantis decrees because they're one man legislating. He's the legislative branch now, the executive branch, and now the judicial branch in the state of Florida in many cases with these extremist judges he's appointing to the bench.
Because there's no one questioning and no one trying to.
And he gets to walk all over them. And so I'm glad these groups are actually suing. I think that's really the only way now in the state because of the supermajority they have. The only way to really fight back is the courts, because elected officials, as we see, they can't fight back. They get removed, they get tossed out, and thrown out like Andrew Warren, like other state attorneys. I mean, I think he's even flirting with removing the state attorney in Orlando. Insane.
Just one clarification to the point you made. Republicans have appointed judges in Florida for over 20 years, but this is a federal case. So this will be heard by a federal judge, not a DeSantis or Scott or Chris or whomever.
Not one of those appointees.
Yeah, it won't be a state judge. It will be a federal.
That I'm aware of. I'm saying in many cases, some of these state courts will uphold, unfortunately. They'll put an injunction and then they'll uphold it, and then we have to go to the federal court because in many cases, these state judges are going to go along because they want to be the next DeSantis Supreme Court pick. And in the 11th Circuit, in many cases, haven't been helpful, but they've been helpful so much.
But to your point, it's very important that we not only support these kind of cases, but support our siblings who need these kind of cases, because if we often talk about slippery slopes. You know, you and I opposite side each other when we talk about slippery slopes. And family, we've got to realize this is a slippery slope. If they can now take away children are the most innocent folks in the world. So if they can take away that ability and the parents' ability to provide health care for their children, women and adults and gay folks are next.
Well, they've already been trying to.
And we see it. There are
already adult transgender people who have not been able to help.
What I'm saying is that we often watch it because it doesn't reflect us, because we may not live that experience. But all it takes is for them to win a majority. This marginalized community, they're now going to come after the gay folks. And what happens when they say, you know what, I don't want to provide monies for sustaining medicine? What happens with medicine that gay folks need to do what they do to ensure they don't receive some, or they don't attract a type of disease or whatever? And we know what it is. Those PrEP, the HIV meds, things like that. What happens when they say you're not part of my family, so therefore I don't want you to live? I'm taking away your dollars. It could happen because they're already they're going after women. We've seen that. They're going after our trans siblings. We see that. And we also know what happens. These babies commit suicide. They become depressed. They're not able to live their authentic selves. And I ask you guys, remember back when Trump took office and how he ripped through healthcare. How many adults who had pre-existing conditions died? I had a neighbor who was fighting cancer. when he took office and the healthcare situation went crazy. Luckily, she was in remission, but unfortunately, throughout her remission, the cancer came back and she could not get healthcare because she had a pre-existing condition. And so finally, it was all settled. Well, guess what? It was too late. What we don't want to do now, we don't want to say it's too late, and we have to now cheer on those plaintiffs, and let's encourage other plaintiffs because they're the heroes. And let's lift them up on our shoulders and say, hey, what? We support you guys, and we will support the next group. We will support the next group. How can we support you? How can we support you in your need? Do we need to go out there and vote? Not only vote, but march with you. Do we need to go out there and sit in that courthouse with you? Do we need to go out there and hold your hand? What can we do?
Also, the court, although I'm very supportive of this case particularly, is also a slippery slope too, because let's not remember Trump, right? He just came in and he appointed hundreds of federal judges and the Supreme Court, unfortunately. So,
well, that's the worst.
It's also tricky because while we want to hope that these federal courts do the right thing, they can also go a different way. And then the Circuit Court of Appeals is not also, the Court of Appeals is also not our friend. And if that can go up to the Supreme Court, I'm kind of scared of what they might do, and this could open up avenues for.
This is why it's so important how many judges Biden has been appointing, more than any president thus far.
And let's keep it that way. So
yeah. Appoint, baby, appoint. Yeah.
Keep it rolling for another 5.5 years. And I just want to say, I've said it before. This is a solution in search of a problem. Mm-hmm. There was never any issue before. Sure, conservatives may not have liked it and they grumbled about it, but they were kind of just, they weren't empowered to do anything, which of course they are now. And secondly, there is no Dr. Ron DeSantis. There is no MD after his name, or I'm sure there are a couple, but most of the state legislators and senators are not medical doctors. I don't even think Florida's Surgeon General is really a doctor.
He's a doctor, but he's a quack doctor.
Yeah, yeah.
Quack doctor.
So they don't respect science. In fact, you only have to go back to COVID, but it goes back further than that. They don't respect science. Medically sanctioned treatments are just ignored because of politics. That is really the frightening and scary part. And like you said, it's not optimal to have us in the hands of judges right now, but it's where we are.
So we can focus on it.
Yeah. And finger crossed.
We are Queer News Tonight, the world's first and only live daily LGBTQ+ evening news show, brought to you from Happening Out Television Network. We operate in the same model of PBS and NPR, but for the LGBTQ+ community. We educate, inform, and entertain by supporting the 10 pillars of our LGBTQ+ community, with more than 100,000 a week watching us on Roku, Apple Television, and other channels. To keep the story going, we accept donations with 100% transparency. Stay updated and live authentically with Queer News Tonight.